How are you getting on, folks? Welcome back to the Irish Racing Hour. I'm your host, Shane Rooney. I'm joined by my co-host, Dean Hegarty and Ryan Sharkey from Racing Records. And we're also joined by a very special guest, one of the most soundest lads over the jumps, Sean Flanagan. Welcome on board. It's great to have you on.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Lads, I suppose before we kick things off, we may as well look at the week in racing gone by. I suppose, first of all, starting off the week, we had Limerick on Tuesday. In my personal opinion, I think Palm Beach, although I suppose, look, it had a very, impressive profile. It just didn't necessarily produce the goods on the day. It was actually beaten by Crassus from Noel Meads. I suppose Sean will know more about it than we will, but in my personal opinion, I think this lad has a very, very nice, profile for a potential Triumph hurdle horse. What did you think of him?
Look, I wouldn't have been too disappointed with him. It was his first experience over hurdles, and he's probably obviously better than what we've seen there. But to be fair to the horse, I was suspended. That's why I didn't ride Crassus. But from what I'm hearing, the ground out there was very, very testing. He'd probably be a horse that would improve a lot, I'd say, from a bit of nicer ground. Crassus has had a lot of experience. He's had 3 runs over hurdles. He did fall one day, but he fell in that race in Ballinrobe, that the good horse of Gordon's that won the Grade 3. I think she's filly actually, but won the Grade 3 race at Fairyhouse the weekend. I was bang with that one at the second last when he tipped up. He was an 80-odd rated flat horse, so he's not a real slouch either. But he's obviously that little bit hardier. He's a bigger horse, and he's had the couple of experience of a couple of runs, and he just handled the ground, I suppose, a little bit better than other horses there on the day, and he also had experience,
Yeah. Lads, what did you make of, Limerick that day? Did you pick out any horses that, potentially could be a nice one coming into the winter?
Well, one that I mentioned the night before was Buck Rogers. From judging off the last race he had before, I tipped up the Brogy Man at that race, but look, he looked decent enough now. He won by a couple of lengths anyway. And what's interesting is he's actually entered in for next Tuesday at Punchestown, so that's one to be keeping an eye on there. So hopefully we can get a bit of a repeat and another win.
I think I've been in the same boat as yourself there. I think that Palm Beach ran a good race. There's lots to take away from that race. It was, for first run over hurdles, there's definitely a lot of improvement still to come, and the testing ground probably maybe might not have been to his strength. So there's lots to like about him going forward, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I suppose as well, there's another horse that I picked out as well. Cost a lot more. I think this lad could be. I'm not going to say he's going to be another limestone lad, but he is very much the same profile. He's an absolute lunatic. He just goes hell for leather out in front, and we've seen it in his stall today. He won by half the track, and the money was down for him that day, and by God, it really, I suppose, improved his chance. Basically, he just absolutely took a keen hold of the bit and just went hell for leather out in front, and it definitely did, I suppose, pay to his strengths. But I suppose then moving on to, the two of you lads, what did you make of Dundalk Wednesday? I'm not going to spend too much time with myself. I'd be more of a jump man, but you're the flat experts, and that's why I have you on board as well, just to, take things up for the flat coming into the winter. But is there anything that, caught your eye that particular day?
Well, Matador in the 340, he was just incredible. Joseph O'Brien, trained horse. Declan McDonough, he just gave him an absolute peach of a ride. He'll no doubt be a winner in the future months. Another one that caught my eye was Pillar. This one has been good to me in the past, and Aidan McGuinness has been on absolute form. Pillar finished second in the 445, and I'd say that has another couple of wins in it over the winter months anyway.
One I think has definitely a big chance next time it runs as the Bobby K. Me and you kind of both like that, Shane. I think just the way he finished off his race, he's definitely going to be handy around Dundalk this winter. And there'll be a few ones, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's it. And actually, Ryan, before we go on anything else, I'm surprised you didn't say Botron or Bytron or whatever you call him. You put, I suppose, this week's this week's
Yeah,
Patreon. It definitely
he ran all right, didn't he? He'll
he
probably
flew
win
home,
another
like,
frame or two, but he probably won't be great in the handicaps now.
no, that's it. Like, I suppose if there was one horse that I would pick out, like, it was definitely What Harm. He's been nothing but a model of consistency so far, and look, I wouldn't necessarily be going on what I say for the flatter, especially in Dundalk, but I definitely think, there's potentially another win or two in him. Like, he just looks to be a very hardy horse, and I think there could be another win or two coming into the winter. Moving on then to Clonmel. Sean, actually, I want to get your opinion on this one here, because I was there this day last year, and I witnessed Mary Frances just being chinned on the line by the storyteller. And Martin Hassett turned around in the parade ring that day, and he apologized to everyone there. And he says, we'll have another day in the sun again. But I didn't think it was going to be, I suppose, that day. But my God, like, she just made, I suppose, Burrows saying, look, an absolute amateur horse. Like, 45 lengths she beat him by. And it certainly looks to be a race that Hassett certainly targets, and a meeting Hassett targets, because he landed a very nice double there as well with no grey areas. And especially the one that I'd like to, I suppose, focus on is Crack on Corrie, one of the ones that I put up for the patron group. Very, very impressive winner, was handy all the way throughout. And I suppose just coming around the final bend, it was absolutely swinging. Danny Hand was having a great ride in him. And I suppose you could nearly put a baby up and Crack on Corrie yesterday. She was just going so well. But I definitely think, look, at the horse to take out was definitely Mary Frances, in my opinion. Sean, what did you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look at it. I've ridden Mary Frances a lot. I'm very good friends with the owner now. She's barely 15 hands. She's absolutely tiny,
Yeah,
little mare, and she's got a massive pedigree. She's a half sister to Jazz Messenger, of the horse that used to be in Knowles. But she's unusually good at going through very, very heavy ground, and this is what gives her the edge. And I think that's kind of why she excels so much there. In that race, it's obviously because she handles the ground really, really well, and she kind of struggles to get races that with the conditions that suit her. She goes there, she handles the track really well, and I think she's a mare that probably, if ground conditions suits her, she could nip a little bit of black type. You'd be delighted for her if she could do that, because she deserves it, But she's absolutely dotted up again just because she handled the ground,
Yeah, definitely does. Definitely deserve it anyway. Lads, what did you make at Clonmel, or was there any horse, I suppose, to take out of it going into the winter?
Yeah, Shane, like yourself, I had Mary Frances wrote down. I thought she was incredible, wasn't she? It's definitely one to be keeping an eye on, and like Sean said there, the heavy grind. Another one I thought was absolutely superb was Epsom the Who. Second time over fences, fell the first time. That was in a race with Andy Dufresne. And look, this one really, really could be a very tidy horse for Henry Gromit. And I think really it should be in everyone's track or going forward, because it'll be definitely a good horse in the future.
Yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, being the same boat as Ryan there. Henry's horse in the first looked pretty impressive. It had fallen last time out behind Andy Dufresne, and I think it was, it was in line to place, and it was running a big race. Like, maybe tiredness got the better of it, but I wasn't surprised to see it rock up and won there on Thursday.
Yeah, that's definitely it. And I suppose we're recording this on Friday, so we can't necessarily look into, I suppose, Navan on Saturday, which is a bit disappointing. But I suppose, we may as well look into Dundalk there tonight or Friday for those that are going to be watching it on Sunday. Lads, what did you make of it tonight? Or I didn't really see much of it now, to be perfectly honest, but I definitely think Dandy Spirit in the first. Dean, you're an absolute maestro. You spotted this at 5-2, was backed into 6-5. I don't know how you spotted it, but I tell you something, that was a very, very impressive winner.
It was impressive, but in saying that, Kieran Cotter and anything Declan McDonough rides up around Dundalk now is flying. Like, he's riding doubles there every week or every meeting. Like, and Kieran Cotter, I heard the lads in Racing TV tonight, I think something like a 50% strike rate they have, so they're absolutely flying. And like he seems to improve horses, Kieran Cotter. When you look at a step too far, he won 5 in the bounce, I think, during the summer there.
Yeah.
And it was no surprise, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that horse keep on winning and maybe stepping up another furlong, and Trip probably wouldn't do him any harm either. But no, he was mighty impressive. And then the one in the second last, John Kiley's for Sean Jones, Black Point, ran really well. He unfortunately got kind of bumper turning into the straight where he had to switch inside from a nice outside position, and then coming up inside the last furlong, then Billy Lee just had to pull him out, and he finished strong in fourth, so he'll definitely win a couple of races around there and over the winter, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's it. Ryan, you're definitely a flat maestro as well. What did you think of it?
Yeah, like Dean said there, Danny Sparrow, that was a great tip at 5-2 getting that. And one that caught my eye was Pure Nature. That was, for me, it was an incredible run. I wasn't expecting that at all from, obviously, Aidan McGuinness's yard again. They're just on absolute fire, really. That was in the big race tonight at Dundalk. Absolutely drew clear, like. Going forward, this could be a good horse. Won on the first night back, I think, this season at Dundalk as well. So 2 wins under the belt this season at Dundalk, and could well be 3 by the end of the season. Like, could get 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's it. I suppose, look, we may as well, while we have Sean here, we may as well crack on with the questions that we've come up with for the interview to look into. I suppose the inside eye of Irish racing. Dean, do you want to kick things off?
Can do, yeah. Sean, basically, life as a jockey now behind closed doors. What kind of experience is it compared to, like, say Ferry House there last weekend past, with big meeting, big winter festival, and no crowds? Has it an effect on jockeys, or what way do you think it is?
I wouldn't have. I suppose not really. I wouldn't have thought so. I suppose we're very grateful for the fact that we're allowed to continue racing at all, which is obviously a big help for us. I suppose the Fairy House meeting and probably Down Royal, the Jane Wine meeting would have been the first 2 meetings. I was injured during Galway, so I didn't get the effect of the Galway festival without the crowd. So I suppose we've been off for so long during the first lockdown, and we got back racing. We're so happy to be back racing. I suppose we're just delighted to be back racing. But then when you get to the bigger meetings and you have the better horses, you would notice it. But at the same time, we're very grateful for the fact that we're able to ride. It's disappointing, I suppose, in the sense that the owners can't be there. But look, we're getting through it as best we can.
Yeah, good. Like, you've piloted a fair few horses in your time, and probably a fair few good ones as well. Is there one that stands out in your mind, Sean, that still maybe gives you goosebumps to this day thinking about?
Yeah, well, looking like I've written a couple of good ones. Obviously, I suppose the real standout is obviously Road to Respect. Like, he's been very, very good to me. I've won 4 Grade 1s on him, and he's kind of versatile as regarding trip, and he's probably the horse that really, really cemented me and got me going. But as regard a race on a horse on a day, I really did enjoy winning the Stairs Hurdle at Aintree on Identity Thief. I rode him in the champion hurdle at Cheltenham that year, and it was his first run back after, well, he'd had 2 runs, but it was his first kind of big run back after an injury. He'd been off for a long time, and I rode him in the champion hurdle, and I just kind of suggested maybe stepping him up and tripping, and everyone agreed, and we went to the Stairs Hurdle at Aintree, and he's won it really, really well, and I got a great kick out of that.
Yeah, good. So some people might not know, but you're actually a qualified pilot as well, Sean. Are you still flying in spare time?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's something that I've probably it's probably taken me 2 or 3 years to do it, because I've only been doing it obviously when I had time to do it. So I do still get out a bit. It's very, very hard, obviously, to get the time to do it. But I was actually only out yesterday. I was suspended this week, so I got a bit of an opportunity to get out. But yeah, no, I love it. I still get out a bit, and it's something that hopefully I'll build on going forward.
Yeah, good stuff. And Sean, just my last question. one horse say you're looking forward to around the Christmas period? Is there one that's working well at home, or the one that gets you excited for Christmas?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this afterwards, and like, look at it. I won a maiden hurdle on Jesse Evans, and the form of the race has worked out quite well. Um, you know, he's a hard. He was. We were toying with the fact that the idea of running him in Fairy House last weekend, and things just didn't work out. But he's a horse that I would be looking forward to, and hopefully we'll see him somewhere over the Christmas. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, Sean.
Cheers, man.
Ryan, do you want to take things
Yeah,
up?
out the way. Yeah. Sean, I suppose Noah Mead has an absolute array of talent there at his disposal. But for you, I suppose, is there any personal favourites in the yard?
At the minute, yeah, like, I suppose we're very lucky that we've stumbled across a couple of quite good novice hurdlers this year. Cascade is a horse that won a maiden at Limerick. He'd had a good bit of time off after an injury, and he won his maiden at Limerick. And after that day, I was just a little unsure because we hadn't gone quick, and I thought maybe it was a falsely run away, so I wasn't sure of it. And he's gone to Punchestown, and he's in a novice, and he's won it quite convincingly. And obviously, he's gone and ran the 2 mile novice at Fairy House the weekend, and he's run an absolute cracker, I thought. So yeah, look, I really like him. Obviously, Beacon Edge is another one, and Jesse Evans. 3 of those horses are 3 standouts for me in the yard at the moment.
And I suppose you've been riding in some big races in the past couple of years. What would you say, if you had to pick one, would be your most memorable race riding?
Memorable race riding, it probably would be the Stairs Hurdle at Entry. It's obviously such a big stage. It was the race before the national. It was my first, believe it or not, it was actually my first winner ever to ride in the UK under rules at all. And it just happened to be a grade 1 on a very, very big day. So I did knock a great kick out of that now, yeah.
Yeah, it's some way to start your UK career, I suppose.
Yeah,
Finally, for me, would you have any advice for maybe some young upcoming jockeys coming through now? And like, what would you be telling them to get to the top where you're at?
It's very, very difficult, I think it's kind of gone. It's obviously it's not getting any easier to get going. To the top is obviously another ball game altogether. But even to get going, I think you need to be mentally very strong. You obviously need a high level of ability, and you need a lot of things to fall your way. I think a lot of younger riders are going wrong, and probably me myself as well when I was younger. You're in a yard, and you obviously the people. People don't have to explain. You need the ability, but you need to keep your head down. You need to work extremely hard. You need to be able to talk to trainers, owners, and keep everything on a level playing field. But I think where a lot of lads go wrong, and where it starts affecting them mentally, is that if for talk's sake you're in a yard, whether you're there 6 months or 2 years, and you're relatively inexperienced as regard race riding, and you happen to be riding out a store horse or maybe a bumper horse or a pint or whatever it may be, and could have cost anything, and in the trainer's point of view, it could be the best young horse he has in the yard, and if the younger rider is riding this out for a prolonged period of time, it starts to get cemented into their mind that there's a possibility that they might ride this, and then they get carried away with the idea that they might ride it. They might ride it a few bits of work, and this idea that they might ride this horse gets embedded in their head, and then when the day arrives, and obviously they go for, whether it be Jamie Codd or anybody, wherever it is, it's a massive blow to the younger rider, when realistically there was a fair chance they were never going to ride the horse anyway. And I think this is where a few lads go a little bit wrong. I think be realistic and be very grateful for what you get when you're starting out, and then when you build up into it, then you can start worrying about things like that.
Yeah, first, that's top bit of advice there. That's all for me anyway, Sean. Thanks very much for that. Shane, what do you?
Yeah, I suppose. Look at that's it basically. Sean, if I suppose look at your well season now, and ridden in, I suppose, nearly every race course, I suppose, between Ireland and the UK. If you could pick out, I suppose, one particular course in, say, between Ireland and one in the UK as well, like what would be your most, I suppose, favourite track to go to and why?
Um, in the UK, I always like riding at Aintree. Not that I've had many rides there ever. Obviously, I've ridden the Grade One winner there, but uh, I think the chase course there is a really, really nice chase course. It's a flat galloping track, um, and the crowds and the buzz there for the national meeting is second to none. Obviously, Cheltenham is a very good buzz, but Aintree is probably a better race course. You need a certain type of a horse to go around Cheltenham, and so for that reason I love riding around Aintree. Ireland, I suppose if I was to say Tremor or Downpatrick, lads would be thinking what's wrong, but I do like both of those tracks. I get on well at them. I ride for a number of trainers that has horses that love those tracks, so I do like riding in those tracks. I suppose I'd have to stick with Down Royal as my favourite race course. I rode my first ever winner there under rules, and I've had plenty of luck around it. It's a very good, well maintained track.
Jesus, yeah, that's definitely interesting. I suppose, look, I had a question down there to relive a sort of a sentimental ride, but I suppose that'd be completely useless to ask now, considering the two boys have already covered it. I suppose, look at, I suppose a subject we haven't touched on is really like just go through basically where you started off to where you are now. Like, where did Sean Flanagan start off his racing career? And I suppose what route did he go to get up to, you could say, Noel Mead's number one jockey?
Yeah, well, probably unconventional road, I suppose, is the way you go. Like, I started out the same as all. I hated school and left school and went to the racing academy in Kildare. But before I'd gone there, I'd been working for Liz Doyle. So I when I was leaving school, then parents made me go to the racing academy in Kildare, which is brilliant. I went there, done that course. Out of that course, I was placed with Martin Brazel. So I was with Martin Brazel for the length of time I was in the course. Delighted I got to lead up and ride out number 6 Valverde. I led him up to win a Tiesta as an Irish national. And then left there, went back to Liz's. But when I was there, I became quite friendly with Shane Foley, Dusty's from Graignamana, so I went down with Shane one weekend and ended up riding out for Dusty Sheehy. And when I finished the racing course in Kildare, I went back to Liz's for a while, and I was at a party with Shane Foley, and I was talking to Dusty, and he said, "Sure, maybe come here." So I went there as an amateur, and things got rolling for a long time, and I turned conditional, and I rode plenty of winners, and then I got a few stints of injuries and different things just as I came out with my claim, and it all rolled to a halt quite quickly. I went from like 24 or 5 winners one year to 3, and then I think I rode 3 the next year, and then maybe 6. So it just completely stopped. So I gave England to go for a while. That didn't work. I actually came home and gave up riding for a while, and then I left and went to America, and I suppose that was probably the turning point. Then when I went to America, I started riding a few winners, and things got going a bit, and then from there, Harry Kelly and back riding for Liz, and start riding for David O'Brien and a good few lads, and I literally just went up to Knowles to try get experience riding a better type of a horse, and that was it really. Yeah, it all kind of rolled from there.
Jenny, yeah. And I suppose, look at it goes without saying, like you've had plenty of experience with plenty of different trainers and all that. Like, was there any advice given to you, I suppose, in the younger age, that look at maybe you didn't really understand or didn't know like what they were saying to you when you were, I suppose, younger, but look at probably at the stage now you realize, well, it was good advice, or it was I suppose.
Yeah,
I
like
don't.
just
Right.
this.
I don't know what way I'm trying to say it, but
I know what you're saying. Yeah, we've just done it differently. Like, yeah, I look back, like, and I the way it worked out. You know, I probably would have been better to maybe you say it now. At the time, Dusty was flying, and I thought it was just a matter of riding away and everything was going to be fine. And obviously the economy went and that was probably a main problem. Like, I was just down my claim, I got a few injuries, and it literally felt like I dislocated my shoulder off a horse in Killarney, and I was out for 6 or 8 or 10 weeks or whatever it may be, and it literally felt like I left Dusty's to go racing that day, and there was a yard full of horses, and I'd gone for 6 or 8 or 10 weeks, and I'd come back, and they were gone. Literally just overnight the whole thing just fell apart, and I was just down my claim, just back from a long injury, and I was left with the person that I'd ridden most of my winners for, um, and obviously now I'm looking to them for support because I have my claim gone, and they were gone as well, and that's probably what buried me really for that period of time. You need the support of the people who's used your claim, and I hadn't got it, and it was by no fault of anyone's really. Yeah, I probably could have done things maybe differently myself, but looking back, like what could I have done? Only maybe went to a bigger yard, and they would have supported me, but where would that have been? I don't know.
okay. And I suppose look at it. It just goes to show, like, you can be on cloud nine one day and down on rock bottom the next. But we were talking to Steph Searle, obviously barn manager of Willie Mullins, is there last week, and she was just going on about the way stable staff are treated in race courses in Ireland. What's your opinion on, I suppose, how the race courses treat, like, race workers or jockeys, or do you think there's a bit of a mixed bag sort of a thing, or are they all generally similar enough?
Yeah, no, like I think, especially now, the race courses are probably doing their best. It's been a very, very tough time over the last couple of months for race courses, probably last year. So they are doing their best with what they have. Like, to be fair, the jockeys and that are generally, as a whole, we're quite well looked after at 95% of the race courses in the country. Like, we have generally fairly good food and whatever like that, drinking water, it's always quite good. If there's a problem, say it's fixed. That's generally the way it works out. We have physio now a lot more as well. John Butler is there, I don't know, I think 150 days a year, which is a lot, like, because you know he's needed, and if you ever have a problem, you can go and meet him privately as well, which is very good. But yeah, no, look at it. It's always improving, and there's always room for improvement. But I wouldn't like to say that we're being ill treated by anyone in particular.
Okay. Look at lads, we may as well kick things on and look into the racing week ahead. Obviously, look at the Tri-Town is coming up on Sunday, which this episode will be going live on. Sean, what do you think of, I suppose, Noel's chances in this? Or obviously, look at he has men to contend with the Ryanair winner from this year, but is there any, I suppose, ones that are coming under I suppose, getting in past the watchful eye, or that's a little bit unexposed, or could be at a potential easy enough weight, or is there anything that's sort of catching your eye at home?
Look at obviously Min, he's having his first run, and a lot of willies do take the first run, but the likes of a horse like that, Class is probably going to get him through. He'll be ridden patiently enough that he won't be the one to be fired at, be the one that be firing at everything else. Look at, like, Noel's horses have been in fantastic vein of form over the past couple of months, as they do generally be at that time of the year. But they're probably better this year than they have been for a lot of other years. So yeah, look, we're happy enough with the way everything is going. We have to throw a roll at the dice and see how it goes. And sure, look, we can only hope for the best, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, Cork is on the same day. I tell you something, boys. Cork definitely looks very profitable for me anyway. This day last week, or this day I think 2 weeks ago, I had picked up, I suppose, one horse per meeting in the Peaky Blogger tips. I think I got 5 winners and a place from seven runners. So, for those that are listening in, definitely, I suppose, tune over to the Peaky Blogger and I suppose listen to, I suppose, potentially the best strike rate course that I have anyway. What do you make of the racing on Sunday anyway? Like, have you anything that sort of caught your eye that might be potentially nice? I definitely think Sky Ace and Cork is definitely one to be definitely looking at with serious, I suppose, each way potential anyway.
Yeah, Shane, I'd agree with that. Shark Hanlon's obviously great with that horse. Bargain buy. Chacon Bourgeois is going to the Kerry Group Hilly Wages, the Grade 2. Bit of a shock to me. I thought that was going to the John Durkin, and I was hoping that Chacon Bourgeois would be going to the John Durkin because I was going to go for Size and Botsy in that race. It's one that I've been following quite a bit and it's been in my tracker for quite a while. And look, Size and Botsy ran a great race last time out and beating Dover Star. And look, 20-1 is quite big for that one. But Chacon Bourgeois is obviously a huge, huge danger in that race.
He'll surely go off favourite, won't he?
Yeah, I think he's 8 to 15 on at the minute.
Sure, there you go. You wouldn't be expecting anything less. Dean, what do you think?
He obviously is the best horse in the race, like, so he deserves to be favourite for what he's done last season. Back it up this season, I would imagine so. The race after that, actually, the mare's race, Sean, you have a nice ride there for Joseph and that one. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, had a good first experience over fences. I think actually in Cork on his last run, finished second to a horse of Willie's, I'm fairly sure. Actually, I think it's owned by the Magners. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So yeah, look at she's beat 3.5 lengths that day. She'd probably improve, but she's taken a big step up in Grade 2 into grade company, you know, and she has had the experience of run, but she needed like Western Victory. She's hardy, very, very hardy, and has plenty of old place form in graded races. Like, you know, you can't bet the place form in the graded races. Heaven help us, I was second on her to Abracadabra in the future champions novice hurdle at Leopardstown last Christmas. She's a high level of ability as well, you know. So it is quite a good race.
Yeah, it looks like quite a good one. Wally Mullins is one in there. Sapphire Lady as well, probably.
Yeah.
Be bang there as well. I know we're on Sunday here, but there's a horse I can't go without asking you about, and it's a favourite of mine. You won the Troy Town on a couple of years back, 2A per me. Like, what a horse he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2A per me. I think he's been quite well placed into that race again. Like, if you look back to his chase form in his past 2 runs, he was beaten by the Storyteller in that Grade 2 Daily Mirror chase at Punchestown on his first run back, and then he was a very good third at the in the J and Wine in Down Ryle. So like, it's rock solid Grade 1 form in a handicap, which is very, very hard to pass. And I suppose if you roll back the clock a year, he was beaten by the Jam Band in the same race last year.
And like, he was third in the Pertemps off mark, I think 136, and he's on tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Sorry, at Navanny runs. He's off 135, you know, and he seems to be in good enough form, you know, and he seems fit enough with already running this season. Like, so, you know, I know it doesn't go out until Sunday, but he's one that I actually think has a big chance at Navan tomorrow, and a horse that I actually love following.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. He does have a very big chance, and they're obviously claiming £5 off him as well, which will put him bang in the picture again as well, you know.
Yeah. Going forward, is there any plans for him, you know, say further down the line, you know, and around the Dublin Racing Fest or Cheltenham?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think that was obviously an ideal opportunity for him to take a step back, hurdling after his good run over the trip last year. So I don't know. You know, like, the level that he'd been campaigned at the start of the season, obviously in the Grade 2 Healy Ray, or the Grade 2 chase at Punchestown, and then the JNY in the north is a very very competitive bracket farm to be in, So I suppose this is just another option for him. Maybe if he was to go and give a good count of himself, it might be something worth looking into for him going forward.
Yeah, and Navan, like I actually love visiting Navan. I visit every year for the Troy Town meeting itself, like, and it's a very unique course. It's one of the best viewing tracks I think in Ireland, and I would say it takes a fair bit of getting for a horse as well, Sean. That steep finish.
Yeah, it takes a lot of getting. There's a lot of jumping down the back and up the straight in Navan. It really gets to me as to why Navan doesn't have a Grade 1. It's without doubt a Grade 1 track.
Yeah.
And I think they'd be hugely justifiable to have a Grade 1. But look at, we have plenty of racing there, and it's literally only over the road from us, so we're delighted to have it. But it's a very very good track.
Yeah, no, I love visiting there every year. Like, and it's a great day out, and they can't do enough for you down there as well. So.
Yeah, no, they're very very good, very helpful people as well. If it be fair.
Shane.
Yeah, definitely. Look at it's certainly a very nice, I suppose, very nice days racing. Anyway, it looks definitely potentially profitable for a few each way. I suppose shouts more so than anything else. There's definitely there's some serious potential there. I definitely like to look at the two patron tips that have gone up so far today. Massey's Wood at 5-1 for Barry Connell definitely looks very very interesting. Coming in at a fairly low weight. Obviously look at Barry Connell's in serious form. I think in the past 2 weeks he's going off a 43% strike rate. With Mark Bulger, I think he's 23% or 32%. One of the two anyway. So it's definitely one of the more horses in form, more so than anything else. But I definitely like to look at your horse team, the Kilcruit in the bumper at 11-8. Definitely look at it. It looked like it was going to be a nice enough winner, and it was definitely talked about to be a nice winner in Clonmel. The day it was with Anthony Mullins. Obviously, look at it was beaten by Captain Kangaroo, by Willie as well. So the fact that it's gone to Willie's, it definitely speaks volumes of, I suppose, what the owners want out of it more so than anything else. It's definitely a nice. It's definitely nice days racing without a shadow of a doubt.
The funny thing about that Kilcruit, Shane, is I'm in watching the Cheltenham preview night for the final furlong podcast, and like the lads are having a bit of crack and a few drinks and all, and like, jeez, Tony Mullins, as Kenny may know that whoever it was asked him about a horse, and he's all, nice. He says, I've won to Navan and Saturday or something. He says, and it ended up not running that Saturday, but it ran Hingway. And I might have been interviewed then in Clonmel, and he was saying that, he says, this horse will probably be wise the next time it runs. Like, so they were fairly confident, but hopefully get a good show of itself,
Yeah, definitely. Like the fact that he has the experience anyway should, I suppose, prove itself anyway more so than anything else. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, Sean, you're actually right. The name escapes me tomorrow. I was impressed with that over the flat last time out, and will it do the same over hurdles, do you think?
A very frustrating horse over any obstacle, to be fair. Very good horse in the flat, high level of ability. Just very, very careful on the jump in front. Did win a competitive handicap chase in Navan as well, but back to Navan, big gallop and track. Handled the ground on the day, and everything just fell his way. He just needs loads of confidence in the jump in front, and a competitive handicap. I don't know if that's the place he's going to get it, but look, he's a horse with a high level of ability, but he just gets away a bit better on the flat because he's got no jumps in his way. He's not a bad jumper. He's just very careful.
Yeah, no, he had a good summer, I suppose, over the flat anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good horse now, to be fair to him.
Yeah, Shane, that was really the only one that, for me, at Navan anyway, I haven't really looked through the car too much. Steph did mention her horse, Class Conti, was running at Navan. I think it's running in the same race there as the name escapes me.
It's a very competitive handicap hurdle. That's obviously the same race as 2 Parami runs in as well, and I think
Yeah.
Willie has 7 or 8 runners in it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I suppose moving on then to Tuesday in Punchestown, it looks a decent day's racing as well. Obviously, look at between, I suppose, the three of us, we've all done fairly well in Punchestown in the past, and especially since racing resumed. Anyway, I seem to have found a very bit of decent form in Punchestown. But look at for Tuesday racing, it definitely looks to be a very decent card. What did you make of it, lads?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned earlier, Buck Rogers is running at Punchestown, so my eyes are quite firmly fixed on that one anyway, and hopefully he can land a quick wire double. Dean, I suppose you probably have a few to look at.
I haven't actually looked through the card that far in advance. It's just entry stages at the minute. But one thing I love Punchestown as a track. I go to the festival there every year from the Tuesday to the Thursday, and what a great track. And it's brilliant that it attracts such high quality horses over from England as well. And Sean, Punchestown Festival, really good buzz about the place. What is it like for yourselves as jockeys riding in it?
It's a brilliant, it's a fantastic track, and the facilities there are second to none, to be fair. It's our Cheltenham and our entry together. It's a brilliant buzz, and you get the thing you'd miss, especially. I think we're as a rider, as we touched on it earlier about the lockdown thing. Same as Christmas, the Christmas meetings. Punchestown would be the same. Like, I'd meet people at Punchestown and at Christmas that I mightn't meet. Could be quite friendly with them. And I'd only ever meet them at Punchestown at the festival for the couple of days, and then you would meet them till next year. So that's, I think, where it's going to be very different this year. Obviously without the crowds, but it's a fantastic festival.
Yeah, I love it, and as you say, where the jockey or the weigh room situated compared to the parade ring, it allows people, I suppose, they talk to yourselves and that, and I'm sure you probably see, as you touched on there, familiar faces that you see there every year. Like the fella that I attend the meeting with last year when we were all there, it was his 50th year. He hadn't missed in 50 years. He always stays in the Sultan Thomas. They always look after him. He loves going to his racing. He's the Troytown meeting every year, the Punchestown Festival, Champions Weekend, and the Irish Derby. That's his big days away. And he's really missing, the racing these days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's people there like that that you'd meet at the races every day of the week, and it has to be hugely frustrating for them to have to sit down at home and watch it, and obviously for owners as well. They're the one that are keeping the show on the road. They're paying the bills, and they can only watch from at home, and but hopefully we get them back soon, please God.
Yeah, look at one of the patron followers that have been very, very good to us, basically to support this podcast. They got in contact with us, and one of his mother, basically, who's been a very big fan of not only this podcast but say my social media channel from the very start. Marion McLaughlin from Ard Crony. So Marion, if you're listening in, I want to say a massive thanks to the support you've shown to us, and hopefully, I suppose, through following this podcast and my videos in the future as well, we'll be able to land you plenty more winners as well along the way. But yeah, look at, I suppose, going back to Punchestown as well. Ryan, you were talking about Buck Rogers. It's definitely, I suppose, an interesting looking horse. Definitely, it looks like he looks very progressive. And I definitely think it'll definitely take one or two more runs for the handicapper to catch him, unless he piles on the weight, basically. But definitely, I suppose, going on for one or two more races, he's definitely well worth following, or if he's at an each way price, definitely get on board. But I suppose moving on then to Tramore, then Thursday, I didn't necessarily take too much of a look at it. People often ask me when Tramore is on for a tip, and I say the best tip for Tramore is to avoid it like the plague. But I looked through it, just I suppose flew through it basically. It definitely looks like there's potentially very, very exciting races to look at more so than bet on, but there's definitely very competitive handicaps along the way through it, more so than anything else, like handicap hurdles, handicap chases, those sorts of races like that. But I suppose, Sean, looking on to this week's racing for yourself, is there any that sort of catching your eye that potentially might be well worth, I suppose, looking into for the followers of the Irish Racing Hour?
Yeah, absolutely. I ride one of Adrian Murray's in the rated beginners chase in Tremor on Thursday called Napoleon Blue. He was second to one of Barry O'Connell's in Gorn the last day. Trip and ground and track I think will really suit him, and I actually think he'll take a lot of whacking in that race. He's one that's improving, jumps really, really well, and the track will suit him. So I sat on him the other morning. He's in good form, so he'd be one that I'd pin my collar to.
That's lovely. That's great. It's always nice to, I suppose, to help us out when we're trying to pick winners. Basically, that's the way it goes. But look, thanks for being so honest about it. Basically, it's great.
No problem.
It's great when help is thrown our way, but.
Jane, another wee touch there, just you're on about Tremor. It can't be that bad whenever Wally sends a Gold Cup winner there every New Year's Day.
Marina won a maiden hurdle there as well, and something else.
Yeah. So,
sure. Look at that. That's it. But I suppose, look at Dean. You touched on there last week about, I suppose, trainers targeting different races and different things like that. Willie definitely targets Tremor. It goes without saying that it's like his playground between Gorham Park and Tremor. It's like Willie's playground. But yeah, look at it. Definitely, like it's decent racing, but trying to find a winner there for a punter's point of view is, for me, it's impossible anyway. I don't know what it's like for you. Between Tremor and Dundalk, for me, is definitely a no-go anyway. I think that's all that's listed down anyway for, I suppose, say next week. I don't think there's anything else really catching the eye. Dean, you, I suppose, picked up on a few horses, say the Irish horses going over to England. You landed a very nice winner on was it the Monday? The 11-1. The 11-1 winner in the 15-2 third on the Monday. So that kicked us off to a very nice week. But have you looked through the card or anything like that to try and find, I suppose, one or two Irish horses that are going over to England that might catch the eye, basically?
No, as you say there, it was Liam Lennon's one, and Noel Kelly's was the 11-day one shot that won. Anytime Noel sends a horse over to England at all, you have to stand up and take note of it. But we're recording this on Friday, so I haven't actually looked. But I'll probably look on Sunday or Monday for what's entered during the week. I know the Gilligans have one over there tomorrow. And your man, I think it's Stuart Crawford, I think he had a lovely 25 to 1 shot, run second on a bumper at Sedgefield today. So, it's something I like to pick up on. They're not going there for the good of their health. It's costing them a few pounds to take the horses over, and especially in times like this. Whenever
never else like that.
Yeah, the restrictions in place when people come back, but I'll get a look, and if I see anything, I'm sure we'll post it up on social media or whatever.
Yeah, well, sure. Even like if we could post it up on Patreon as well, just to, I suppose, pay back the ones that are contributing to, I suppose, funding the podcast, and I suppose bringing us to where we need to be in terms of success and everything else like that. Yeah. I think we're coming up to the end of the show this week. I suppose before we go, we want to touch on the Patreon and the growth we've gotten so far this week. I think I looked there. There's 28 subscribers on Patreon at the present moment. So that was absolutely massive for us. We said if we could get 5 or 10 for the first week just to see how well things would go, it'd be brilliant. But 28 is just absolutely incredible. Like we were setting our sights at, I suppose, 20 for the first couple of months, but for the first week, I think it's been fairly successful. Boys, what do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no,
Tipped up quite a few winners in a few places, and obviously Dean had not run on the first day, but
yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah,
it's been fairly successful.
Yeah, Dean, you were calculating up the profit loss. What are we standing on at the minute for the first couple of days?
I think it's plus 8.13 or 8.13, I think, for a level stake. So not doing too bad.
Yeah, for the first week, it's not too bad. But yeah, other than that, I think it's good to go, and we're ready to finish things off. But look to the people that tune in every week. Thanks very much for your continued support. If you're looking in and you haven't subscribed to the channel on YouTube, please don't be afraid to do so. It only takes a second, but it helps us out a long way at the end of the day. I want to say thanks to Ryan and Dean for coming in for the hour for this show this week, and not to forget to mention Sean Flanagan for being such a good sport and being a great talk to for the past hour as well. Sean, before you go, I want to say thanks again and wish you the very best of luck for the rides coming up this week, and I suppose for the future endeavours as well.
Thanks very much, and the very best of luck with this going forward. It's very good so far.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Sean. You know, it means a lot to people like us. You know, somebody like yourself giving up an hour of their evening. You know, to help. I suppose people get an insight on the Irish racing, so it means a lot to us, and we really appreciate your time.
No problem at all. I've 2 little lads running around now. I'm happy to get away for an hour.
Yeah, look, I think that's basically it. For those who want to join the Patreon account as well, we'll leave a link in the description below. It's a tenner a month. We put up 3 tips every single day. We put in a couple of hours each day into looking into trying to find the most likely winners at the best prices. We have a rule where we don't go anything shorter than even money, so anything we do put up is of, I suppose, decent value as well, and with a profit loss ratio with the first week as well of 8 plus 8.3 or 8.13. It's definitely, look at the value there speaks for yourself. €10 a month is definitely, if it's not the cheapest out there, it's definitely one of. It's as simple as that, basically it. Yeah, that's all for this week, folks. Thanks very much, and thanks for your continued support.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.